We are completely stripping away the Instagram filters, the rented Lambos, and all that fake guru nonsense. We're going to look at the raw, math-backed, and psychologically proven reality of what it actually means to be a millionaire in the modern world. Because let's be honest, we've all been sold the exact same lie. You know the one I'm talking about. We are told constantly that if you just hit that magical 7-figure number in your bank account, everything changes. The financial anxiety just vanishes into thin air, the rent stops feeling like a ticking time bomb, and you have officially, finally made it. But I'm going to take a really candid, highly analytical approach to completely dismantle these modern myths of wealth. We are going to look at what the math actually says. So let's start with a basic question. What does a millionaire actually look like? We've all been sold this ridiculous lie that a 7-figure bank account means tailored suits, flying private everywhere you go, and spending your Tuesday afternoons lounging on a mega yacht in Monaco. But the reality? The reality is actually much more ordinary. In fact, if you woke up tomorrow morning with exactly $1 million in your net worth, your life would look almost exactly the same as it does right now. You would likely still drive a used Honda. You'd probably still be buying your groceries in bulk over at Costco. And honestly, you would absolutely still worry about money. That flashy, over-the-top lifestyle is just a manufactured image designed to sell you things. Okay, let's dive right into this and just completely shatter the illusion. Because here is the tough pill to swallow that no one tells you. $1 million just isn't wealth anymore. It's really not. Today, it's essentially just the entry fee for a stable, comfortable, middle-class life. See, most people picture a millionaire as someone who can just casually log into their banking app on their phone and literally see 6 zeros sitting there in liquid cash, just ready to be spent on whatever luxury they want. That is almost never true. Almost never. And to understand why that's a myth, we have to look really closely at the actual math behind the title. When economists, researchers, or wealth managers talk about a millionaire, they are not talking about a checking account balance. They just aren't. What they are actually talking about is net worth. And net worth is a very, very simple equation. It's just your assets, meaning everything that you own, minus your liabilities, meaning everything that you owe to the bank or anyone else. If you subtract your debts from your assets and that final bottom line number is $1 million or more, well, congratulations, you are officially a millionaire. But the real question is, where is that $1 million actually held? Because it's not in a briefcase full of cash. To answer that, let's look at a massive, incredibly comprehensive survey of over 10,000 wealthy Americans conducted by Ramsey Solutions. What they found is that the vast majority of millionaires actually reach that milestone through incredibly boring, slow vehicles. Meet our example here, Sarah. Sarah is 52 years old. Over half of her $1 million net worth, about $550,000 of it, is entirely locked up in her workplace 401k. That's a retirement account she has been diligently, quietly contributing to every single month for 25 years. The other $450,000? That is just home equity. Sarah owns a nice $600,000 home, but she still owes $150,000 on the mortgage. So you add her 401k and her home equity together, and boom, Sarah is officially a millionaire. But let's take a hard look at Sarah's actual daily reality. Yes, she has the title, she is a millionaire, but she still works a standard 9-to-5 job every day. She strictly caps her monthly spending. She probably only keeps about, say, $15,000 in a liquid savings account for emergencies like a broken water heater or a medical bill. Sarah is exactly what we call a paper millionaire. She can't just wake up tomorrow, go down to the dealership, and buy a Ferrari. She certainly can't quit her job. Why not? Well, think about it. If she sells her house to get her hands on that cash, she still needs a place to live. And buying an equivalent home in the same neighborhood is going to absorb that exact same amount of capital. And what if she tries to touch her retirement account early? She gets hit with massive, painful tax penalties. So she is absolutely rich on a spreadsheet, but her daily, day-to-day life is entirely ordinary. Section 2, the 4% drop. Now, you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, Okay, I get that. But what if that $1 million is fully liquid? What if it's all invested in the stock market instead of being tied up in a house? Surely then you can just retire early and live a super glamorous life off the interest, right? Well, let's actually look at the math of retirement. To understand this, we need to talk about a concept called the 4% rule. This is literally the gold standard safe withdrawal rate in the world of financial planning. It all stems from something called the Trinity Study, which is this famous academic paper that looked at decades and decades of historical stock market data. The researchers wanted to determine exactly how much money you can safely pull out of an investment portfolio every single year, adjusted for inflation, without completely running out of money before you die. And that magic, safe number they landed on? It's exactly 4%. So let's do the math on that. It's pretty simple. If you have exactly $1 million invested entirely in the market, your safe withdrawal rate of 4% gives you an income of exactly $40,000 a year. I want you to take a second and just let that sink in. A massive $1 million investment portfolio basically pays you a pre-tax salary of $40,000 a year. Let's break this down even further on a monthly basis, just to really drive the point home. Your annual pre-tax income is $40,000. That breaks down to roughly $3,333 a month pre-tax, but we all know Uncle Sam is going to step in and take his cut for capital gains taxes. So after taxes, you are left with about $2,800 a month, depending heavily on the state you live in. Now, can you survive on $2,800 a month? Absolutely. Millions of hardworking people do it every day. But is it the glamorous, jet-setting luxury lifestyle promised by all those internet entrepreneurs? Not even close. In many major cities across the country right now, $2,800 a month won't even cover the rent on a standard, basic one-bedroom apartment, let alone covering your groceries, your healthcare, your car payment, and your insurance. And you know what? It actually gets much worse when you factor in inflation, because $1 million today literally does not buy what $1 million bought when your parents were your age. Due to inflation, $1 million back in 1980 had absolutely incredible purchasing power. To match that exact same purchasing power today, you would need roughly $3.9 million. So when we sit around and dream of being a millionaire, we are almost always dreaming of 1980s purchasing power. The modern reality is heavily diluted by inflation. Section 3. The secret psychology of lifestyle creep. Now let's completely shift gears. Let's transition from the raw numbers and the math to the actual psychology of wealth. Because here's the single most dangerous thing that no one tells you. Earning more money rarely cures your financial anxiety. It sounds crazy, but let's explore why. As human beings, we possess an incredibly powerful ability to adapt to our surroundings. Psychologists call this constant moving of the goalposts the hedonic treadmill. When you finally get that big raise at work, you feel incredibly happy. You feel like you're on top of the world for a few weeks. But very quickly, that brand new income level just becomes your new normal. The joy fades, the excitement wears off, and you completely adapt. And this rapid adaptation leads directly to a massive financial phenomenon known as lifestyle creep. Here's how it works. When people start making more money, they almost never keep their living expenses exactly the same and just happily save 100% of the difference. Instead, they slowly start increasing their spending and upgrading their everyday habits to match their new rising income. They trade in the old car and buy a slightly nicer one. They move from a cramped 2-bedroom apartment to a spacious 3-bedroom house. They switch from buying the really cheap boxed wine to the mid-tier wine, the kind with an actual cork. They start flying premium economy instead of basic because they feel like they've earned it. This is a subtle, dangerous trap, and it is the exact reason why millions of high earners, people making over 6 figures, are literally still living paycheck to paycheck. So the absolutely crucial point here is how this plays into what we call the comparison trap. When you finally hit a net worth of $1 million, your peer group almost entirely changes. You are no longer comparing yourself to your old college roommate who is still struggling to pay off their student loans. No, you are now comparing yourself to the people in your new, wealthier zip code. Suddenly, the guy next door puts in a gorgeous $50,000 pool. Your boss pulls up in a brand new, fully loaded Tesla. Your kids' friends are all suddenly going to very expensive private schools. Because the human brain is literally hardwired for relative comparison, you don't judge your wealth by an absolute number on a screen. You judge it by looking left and looking right at the people around you. So when you reach $1 million, you don't actually feel rich. You look at the person down the street with $5 million and you feel exactly the same financial insecurity you felt when you were making $40,000 a year. All your old anxieties didn't go away. They just upgraded their zip code. Section 4, Stealth Wealth versus Fake Wealth. So this begs the question, if real millionaires aren't living the flashy lifestyle you see all over social media, who exactly is? Well, on one hand, we have fake wealth. The people you see on social media renting out massive mansions just to shoot music videos, wearing clothes completely covered in massive designer logos, and leasing flashy sports cars they can barely afford, they are rarely actual millionaires. Usually, they are drowning in terrible debt just to maintain an illusion. They are spending every single dollar that comes in just to look rich to strangers on the internet. On the other hand, we have stealth wealth. This is the quiet, invisible reality of actual millionaires. They deliberately hold on to their money, they actively avoid flashy status symbols, and what they gain in return is ultimate, unshakable peace of mind. We actually have the numbers to back this up. Data from the classic research book, The Millionaire Next Door, provides a massive, undeniable reality check. The average wealthy American actually works an incredibly ordinary job. They are accountants, they are structural engineers, they are small business owners running local plumbing companies. They drive a 3-year-old, perfectly reliable used Ford or Toyota. They wear simple, non-branded, ordinary clothing. They absolutely do not buy things just to impress other people. In fact, think about it. The very reason they became millionaires in the first place is because they specifically chose to hold onto their money and invest it, rather than blowing it on fleeting, depreciating status symbols. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote: "Wealth is what you don't see." I love this. The most crucial takeaway from this entire explainer is that true wealth is practically invisible. It's the luxury cars that were never bought. It's the expensive, trendy home renovations that got delayed. It's the diamond watches that were never purchased. It's the deep peace of mind knowing that if you lose your job tomorrow or the economy tanks, you can survive for years without ever having to change your lifestyle. But here's the problem. Peace of mind doesn't look cool in a 15-second Instagram story. Because true wealth is quiet and invisible, we grow up chasing the completely wrong target. Section 5. Redefining true wealth. So where does all this math and psychology leave us? If this reality check makes you want to just throw your hands up and give up on financial freedom altogether, I need you to listen closely, because you've missed the ultimate point. The point here isn't that building wealth is useless or pointless. Not at all. The point is that we desperately need to completely redefine true wealth and change what we are aiming for. We need to stop chasing $1 million just for the sake of the luxury lifestyle we incorrectly think it buys. If you do that, I promise you, you will be deeply, deeply disappointed when you finally cross that finish line. Instead, we need to start chasing wealth for the only thing that actually matters: autonomy. Autonomy is the true, fundamental purpose of wealth. It is the absolute freedom to control your own time and make your own decisions. Seriously, look at what autonomy actually buys you. It's incredible. Wealth isn't about buying more shiny things. It's about buying your time back. It's the amazing ability to look a toxic, abusive boss right in the eye and confidently say no. It's the financial padding to comfortably take 6 months off work to spend precious, unhurried time with a sick parent without panicking about the mortgage. It's the absolute, unmatched freedom to wake up on a Monday morning and decide exactly how your day is going to go. That is the secret. That is what no one tells you about being a millionaire. It won't make you instantly famous, and it won't make you royalty, but it will make you free. And true freedom, that is worth far, far more than a rented yacht in Monaco. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really consider today. If wealth is ultimately just a tool for buying back your time, how are you spending yours right now? True freedom is worth infinitely more than temporary status. So ask yourself, are you currently spending your limited time chasing invisible status symbols to impress people you don't even like? Or are you actually building towards true autonomy? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this structured, honest look at the data completely changes how you view money and helps you focus your energy on what truly matters. See you next time.